Okay. Let me go off that then.
It's so fun.
Let me go off that. Not even just anime. Bring it to a wider sphere of like thinking about ideas. Like we find ideas fun. Like yes, when we're writing is cool and whatever, but we can sit here and have the same conversation about free will. We have the same conversation. I remember how many times we've had a conversation about religion, or like all these ideas that we can take apart and just not be so focused on the size of the ideas, but more about what if this and what if this, and you know. And I really enjoy that aspect of our friendship. So let me just go off that then about thinking about ideas, right? How do we? I'm asking you, Rev. How do you, for example, when it comes to writing essays, take an idea and then like find out what about that idea is good and what about that idea is bad? Like if you were told to write an essay about an idea, how would you go about that? Just to give people an idea.
I have that down as a system.
I know, and you've taught me this actually, which is why I'm asking you this question. How do you go about writing essays? How do you go about thinking through ideas?
Like, we're talking academic essays here, not fiction.
Academic essays, yeah.
Okay.
Fiction into ideas.
First, I'd pick a book that interests me, or a not theme, but like a question that really interests me.
Can you give us an example?
Okay, my latest paper on Frankenstein. Still waiting for the grades out. They come out tomorrow. I've been waiting for the grades since February.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's not been fun. My dissertation also comes out tomorrow.
Holy shit.
I'm so
Well, it's a
fucked.
big
I find
day,
I find out if I'm gonna be able to get into a PhD or not.
You'll be fine.
I hope so.
You'll be fine. They'll be watching
Actually, fuck
this
that. Let's
and
talk about my
constantly-
let's talk about my dissertation.
Go on.
So I did my dissertation on Lolita and villainy because
fuck.
okay, fine. I'll clip that out.
Okay. You're learning.
Censorship. So with my paper on Frankenstein, I basically wanted to.
Don't stop saying stuff and then
Yeah,
ask me to clip
yeah.
it. Because I'll watch this and probably not clip it.
Sorry.
I'll clip that part from
No, because my professors were lovely for the most part.
See? That part's good.
Like I've had some pretty great professors at uni. They're the reasons why I've become an author.
Whoa.
No, I've had like some insane professors. Like
sorry, ideas and how you think.
yeah, sorry.
Frankenstein.
So in Frankenstein, I really wanted to prove that Victor Frankenstein was gay, because he is, and I proved that in this essay. And
But it's an opinion about a piece of art.
That is
Proved.
true.
Proved.
yes, I proved it.
Proved.
Well, I guess my grades
Hubris.
my grades tomorrow will determine that.
Your opinion is fact now.
Yes.
Mm.
As a
Spoken
writer,
like a true academic.
as a writer,
True.
we're not going down that rabbit hole. I write because okay, never mind. Sorry, we keep getting tangent.
How do you write? We were doing pretty well, but I think we were doing so well now. It's like the balance.
Yeah. So it was basically, how do I prove that Victor Frankenstein has homosocial, or rather homosexual tendencies? And so once I have that question in mind, I reread the book with that question in mind, and I underline all the quotes that support me and all the quotes that will directly go against what I have to say. And I write all that down on one Google Docs. So that's Doc 1, which is quotes. And then you have Doc 2, which is I go out and I find research on JSTOR usually of professors and other academics of like my education level or higher, because like at an undergrad level you can use an MA paper to back yourself up. At an MA level you're not really going to use an undergrad paper to back you up, that unless like it was a really really good paper. So then you have that doc, which has all the quotes from professors that support the point that you're trying to make, and quotes from people who actively disagree, because it's always really important to acknowledge both sides of the story. Otherwise you're just writing a shit academic paper. Like you have to acknowledge what the other side has to say about your work. Otherwise you're just you're not having a conversation, because academia is supposed to be a conversation.
So you argue both sides, as in like you
No, you stand for one side, but you bring up the other side, and then you say, well, my response to them would be XYZ. So, for example, with Frankenstein, they'll be like, oh, but he was in love with Elizabeth. And that's not the case, because the night of his wedding night, she gets murdered before they get to consummate their marriage. And my argument was that the monster is a representation of Victor's repressed homosexuality, because he always appears when it's convenient for Victor to not be straight. So he gets engaged and then goes on a 2-year trip around the world with his best friend, who he spends about 5 pages describing how beautiful this friend is. When his wife dies, he has maybe 1 line or 1 paragraph about how sad he is. But when his best friend died, there's a whole chapter about how he almost died because he was so stricken with grief.
Was your argument this was intention by the writer?
Yeah, well, maybe not. I don't know what the intention of the writer is. I mean, Mary Shelley was fucking unhinged, but mad respect to her. She's visionary.
Unhinged as writers?
No, Mary Shelley was unhinged. I don't know if this is true or not, but I read somewhere that she carried around her husband's heart, like after he died, and she had sex on her mom's grave.
Yikes.
I'm not sure if this is all true. You can fact check me here,
Yikes.
but this is what I've read on the literature forums.
Yeah,
I've never gone out of my way to see if that was
don't
true or
focus on
not.
that.
It's just funny to believe that it is. So then that's 2 docs. So 1 doc of your quotes from the book, 1 doc from quotes of the professors, and then you have a 3rd doc. In that doc, you start tying together which quotes support which ones. So your quotes as like from a professor would be like, yeah, I agree with this instant, and then you can say, as Professor XYZ said, this and this, I agree with them on the basis of, and then you add in your own point and your own analysis because you have to put in your own point of view. Otherwise, you're just repeating what other people are saying.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Just literally to base off that, and I'm going to ask you the same question also about how to write essays and how to think through ideas.
Okay.
So, but how do you? So, what have you learned from that process? And you've done that process many times. What have you learned from that process about how people think, about how you think specifically, like about ideas, like what you believe is to be true, and then you've done research on something, you think actually this is a new idea, a new perspective I've not thought about before, and just generally, how do you think that reflects on other people? How other people think you see maybe on your course or just like out in the wider world?
I keep saying
You're allowed to say
it's annoying. It's annoying me, so I can imagine that it's annoying everybody else.
Um,
I hate you, Jeff.
go on.
What was the question?
The question was, the question was how many times I can edit this out? There's no. Okay, I'm joking. I'm not gonna edit this out.
No, how about this one? Wait. Oh no, it's broken.
Oh shit.
It doesn't bend, bitch.
Oh shit. So it's always just there.
See?
They can't see that. They
see. I
can't.
can't bend my
Don't
finger.
swear at the camera. Also.
I'm not swearing. I'm just telling you that I can't bend my middle finger because I got crippled when I was 19.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
Don't break into a
So
man.
basically, the question was, how do you think how does learning about how essays work and how you've kind of done that, how does that help you think through ideas for yourself? And then how have you seen, just in comparison to how other people think through ideas? Because I know we can all agree that most people out there don't do that process that you just mentioned. They don't sit down to rigorously take apart ideas, think about the other side, think about their perspective, what the other side has to say, think about research that's done out there by academics, what they think about that research, and then come to their own unique point of view. So I'm saying that process will teach you a lot about thinking and a lot about ideas. What has that taught you about just, I guess, ideas in general, but also about how other people think through ideas kind of very, like, not rigorously?
I'm not sure about the other people thing because I don't really get deep or talk about like academic stuff with anybody that's not the two of you. The way that it's developed my ideas, though, it really helped with my fiction because it taught me not to be scared of scrapping ideas and going back to the drawing board over and over again. And it's allowed me to have, like, my current work that I'm doing started off as a choose your own adventure novel and then developed into 6 books. And then it redeveloped back into one massive brick of a book that's going to go both like in the future and in the past at the same time, meeting up in the middle. It's a bit of a mess.
Crazy.
It's a
But
mess.
it's so unique that I'm excited to see what happens.
So am I. I don't know. Please stop doing that. It's driving me insane. It's just in the peripheral of my vision. I just see this vape twirling. It really helped me let things just evolve because with essays, your thesis can go through like 5 or 6 changes minimum while you're writing a paper. Now we're talking about a paper that's about 4,000 words because let's face it, that's as long as you need to get anything substantial across. Anything shorter is not a fucking research paper.
Tell that to us at uni, man. I was getting that 3,000 words.
I'd struggle with the 3,000 words. I'd be like, fuck, I gotta cut out 1,000 words now.
Yeah?
It was a pain. Like, if you go through my Instagram like archives, it's literally just posts of me studying and crying, art that I've made, and then me trying to crop word counts down. That's it. That's been my life for the past like 6 years of like since like the last 2 years of high school up till now.
Yeah.
It just lets you back onto the main point. It just lets shit evolve because Phantasma has devolved and evolved into so many different fucking things that I don't even recognize it anymore. It started off as a project for art school, And then I took that idea and developed it for my master's. And I developed it and I developed it and I developed it. Then now I have this really weird world that I've created. And I'm not really sure what to do with it. But it's doing its own thing, and I'm just vibing. Well, I'm not vibing. I'm sobbing with my glass of wine and crying over the screen. But you know, it happens.
It's close enough.
Close enough.
It's close enough. But yeah, go on. Go on the same question. First off, how do you write essays? How do you think through complex ideas? And what would you advise people on how to think through complex ideas?
Pretty much exactly the same way, actually. Minus the fact that I definitely don't really think about complicated things, Jeff.
Yes, you do all the fucking time.
What is
No.
the meaning of existence?
What is the
No.
meaning of life?
That's not a
Am I living
complicated
in my
idea.
true logos?
What is self-actualization?
Is free will even a thing? Self-determinism.
Linguistic determinism.
What does it mean to be? Existential crisis.
I feel
I
like
have
if you
no idea
opened
what
up a
you're talking
dictionary and
about.
looked up existential crisis, you'd see just a picture of Kieran there chilling with his monster.
It's not that deep.
It's okay.
Like,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
because to
I
me,
disagree vehemently. but
I
it's-
agree with
it's
Jeff
fine.
for a rare moment
I'm-
where I agree
I'm
with
gonna
you.
let you go. I'm gonna let you go. Explain why.
no, yeah, because it, like, okay. At the end of the day, as much as I give a fuck about whatever it is that I might be talking about in an essay, right? Say if it's like for my undergrad dissertation, I did a philosophical analysis of Goodnight Pom Pom.
That's the definition of.
No, because if
Very,
you
very
think
deep.
no, because if you think about it,
Is this
like, look, I'm not getting into that whole bullshit, but
You did for your
it's
dissertation.
yeah, I know I did.
Sorry, I'm just being a bit like a dick.
So am I.
I'm just being a
I
dick for the
know,
sake of being a
honestly.
dick.
Poking at
Honestly.
him, just letting him
Honestly.
get a word in. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Bad interview. Sorry. Oh, interview. Go on. Speak your mind. Speak your
God
mind.
damn, I'll speak my mind. I don't think you want me to do that, Jeff.
No, speak your mind.
No, you do not want.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, see, I'm just not racist like you.
Oh, Jesus. Clip.
Clip.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think like, you know, I try the way that I typically make essays is like I'll have a spider diagram. Depends on how many words I'm given, obviously, annoyingly, but I have my like main points that I want to bring up from, say, for example, like reading the work, and then you kind of build outwards from there. So you find things that may very well corroborate your view on things, but at what point does it end? You know, there's like what I found with Goodnight Pom Pom was like the further that I dug, the more I realized that like I just didn't know anything. It was kind of horrifying, and I think maybe I just chose perhaps too difficult a thing to talk about for my undergrad dissertation.
No such thing.
Yeah, I feel that.
No, I did, mate. You could have given me like 40,000 words. I'd still need more.
Yeah.
Because it's like every layer you peel back, there's another layer.
Absolutely. Yeah.
No,
That's what we love about writing.
It's
to be
like when
honest,
do
right?
no, but the problem is you have to know when to stop.
Do you?
I
Yeah.
disagree with that.
When it comes to academic writing, yeah. Otherwise, you're gonna end up with like a manual that no one's gonna read.
Well, yeah, of course, but when it
But
comes
with fiction
to
writing,
like,
people want to read the manual.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
It's what I was
but
like
like
with that.
it's literally if you want to go into like academia for literature, your job is to peel back those layers, like,
I know.
and if you need
It's
a
a
lot
pain.
of like words to do so, it's your job, bro. Do it. And yeah, I like to find things that are maybe not necessarily. I'm trying to find my own niche in academia. Really, for me, it just happens to be like anime, manga, that kind of bullshit. But you know, at the same time, like when I was in my first year, I did a paper about like postmodernism. I've always been very like preoccupied, I guess, academically with ideas around like the representation of reality in literature, and whatever that means in the wider sense, perhaps. But you know, to me, I think also that's kind of what I want to write hits on. Like it's all about you can dress it up in whatever way you want to, ultimately, when it falls back on like your work, if it's a piece of fiction. But what that work is actually saying about, you know, the representation of reality that's in your head that you want to get across is fundamentally what the book you're writing, the literature you're trying to explore and discuss is talking about. You know, whatever that might be. I don't really believe in the concept of art for art's sake.
I disagree with you there.
I'll go a
I
question
knew you were
on that.
going to.
Finish your point and I'll go a question to bit on that.
God, yeah, that's a fucking hornet's nest.
That's what I want to open.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't believe in art for art's sake. I really don't. Because I think that, like, you can drum it up to whatever the fuck you want to refer to it as. Oh, I didn't intend to put that meaning in there. Perhaps not consciously, no. But
You sound like one of my professors from art school.
because what gives
a
your
30-minute
work
argument with him
meaning,
over it.
intended or not, is
Let 'em
up
cook,
for
let 'em
the
cook, let 'em cook.
the audience to talk about. Like, you know, I could be saying like, oh yeah, I'm trying to talk about all these fucking things and represent these things as these things in my work. But ultimately, I can say whatever the fuck I like. What a person gets out of that, what they think it is that I'm chatting about, completely up to them. Whether it's extremely explicit on my part because I'm like, hey, actually, yeah, this is a direct thing I want to discuss, or something else which can be represented however you want it to be, is completely up for the reader to decide. Like, you know, visual aspects of things like manga,
Yeah.
paint it in a different light because that ultimately is a visual medium. But that's also what makes novels so much more interesting to me, is because it's like at that point you have to use your words to describe the thing that it is you're trying to explain. So like, you know, while I might be able to represent magic in the physical concept of like, you know, how it manifests in the world quite easily and quite vividly, you know, the conversations that are going on from within that magic system entirely depends on how I end up representing that from a visual perspective within the work itself. Like, if I can't, like, basically your job as a writer, as an author of fiction, is to tell people, hey, I imagined this concept in my head and I wrote it down with words, and those words are then going to try and form that imaginary concept picture in your brain.
Okay, let me go on a question. Before